This is a question I have concerning the men going their own way movement. The question is simple. I see a lot of MGTOW saying that the movement has nothing to do with politics, and that any libertarians should stay away or they should leave politics at the door. Personally, I'm a libertarian, or to be more precise, I am an anarchist. I do not just want minimal government, I want no government. Exactly no government. 0%. That is zero taxes, zero intervention, division of government from the universe. That's it. Having said that, why do MGTOW have this fetish to want to divide themselves from any ideas concerning market liberalism, concerning liberty? I mean, think about it. If men are producing wealth, why the fuck would they want socialism? Would a man with his brain in the right place actually want an armed gang to take his stuff? And the answer is no. Now, my objection to this tendency that I see is basically an objection that is much more pronounced when it comes to Stardust, the thinking ape. He treats the whole issue on a very utilitarian basis. He says that utility is what we must strive for. Efficiency is what we must strive for. And this is why he's talking about gun control. In his video about gun control, he talked about gun control not being realistic when it comes to the United States. Now, personally, I admire Stardust. His ideas are great. But when it comes to politics, he's dead wrong. He's completely wrong when it comes to politics and economics. And of course, I understand this, not in a condescending way, because obviously you cannot be specialized in everything. He is a linguist, as far as I can tell, and he sounds like he knows his shit pretty damn well. And I love one thing in my life, and that is listening to people who know their field of expertise. And when it comes to that, yes, he does know. And when it comes to MGTOW, yes, he has some great ideas. But I have to set boundaries by saying that when it comes to economics and political philosophy, I'm afraid he does not understand some fundamental principles. And people like him and others, I've seen other channels saying similar things. They do not understand how these principles that they are saying are connected. They do not understand that when you allow a legal precedent and a legal institution to redistribute wealth, you undoubtedly set a precedent to cause what we have right now. It's not a slippery slope fallacy. It's something that is happening. It's something that has happened and will happen again if we ever manage to reverse it and fall into the same trap. What I'm trying to say here is that you cannot want freedom for men and yet say that you might want more state if more state is efficient. Efficiency is not the result of merely pulling some statistics and putting some numbers on an SPSS file or something like that and saying that, well, according to my statistics, this is efficient. No, statistics are the lowest form of understanding of the world. There are some very fundamental principles in economics and in political philosophy, and when you fuck with these principles, they fuck with you. And when it comes to men, when you allow an institution or when you accept the legitimacy of an institution that has as its primary function theft on large scale, when you consider this institution to be okay if it has some utilitarian value, then you have already lost the battle, because we are no longer talking about whether or not we we consider this situation moral, but whether or not we consider this situation useful. My problem is that according to the very same principles that a great volume of MGTOW producers say, according to the very same principles that they agree with when it comes to political philosophy, if the enslavement of men, if the slavery of men is useful, if it works, if it causes better statistics, if there is less crime in society, if there is better order and all that, then we should somehow accept slavery. According to them, it is not a question of morality, of a priori morality, of whether or not state intervention is something good or bad. Their problem is whether or not it works. And this is a problem that appears very much in today's era. We treat issues from a very utilitarian point. We We think that if something works, it's good, when in fact the other way around. Good things tend to work best, but you can never say that this works so it's good. It may appear to be working, but it might not be good, because you might be ignoring some certain factors, some certain externality, namely the externality of men becoming enslaved, or the externality of any other demographic becoming enslaved. And when you're saying I am pro-gun control but it's unrealistic for the United States, I'm afraid this is the case. I'm afraid that you're saying I don't have a problem with the state being a little more of a dick, but it just wouldn't work in the United States, so we should go with ad hoc solution. And this is not how it's going to work. I'm sorry to be the bad guy here. I'm sorry to tell you the mean truth, but this is the case. If you want to make a change, if you want, or at least if you can't make a change, if you want to understand what the fuck is happening, you can never say, I want more state. Because, yeah, this is the recipe of destruction. This is what has happened for millennia. The ruling class has always said, has always thought we're going to stay on top forever. They've always thought of it like that. And when they ceased being on top, what was the result? They got fucked because they set a precedent. And that's what happens to men today. They've set so many precedents of state intervention that they can't set limits, that they can't say fuck off to the status, to the status gangs. So we have to be very, very strict. And yeah, sometimes we will have to go and express our ideas when it comes to political philosophy and our ideas when it comes to economics. You cannot be saying that you support men and say that you want an increase of government institutions. And I want to be clear here. If there are government institutions for women, that does not justify making more government institutions to support men. That might sound very bad to many people, but my opinion is more state does not solve the problem of state. And I'm afraid that the problem is not to increase the intervention to support men, but to decrease the intervention that gives women an unfair advantage, whatever that might be. And people, of course, people like Barbarossa, a person I respect. He sounds like a decent person, but he is lacking the understanding of political philosophy. He will say that this is even more unrealistic to, go back than to simply increase the intervention and to make institutions for men or make laws for men. I will say that the real utopian here, the real utopian ideal here is to think that somehow this new law is going to solve the fucking problem. It's not. You're just going to hide it under the carpet for another 10 years so that the next generation has to deal with even worse shit. It is exactly what the Keynesians, for example, do all the time. They hide the problem under the carpet and then it comes back 10 or 20 years later and fucks the rest of the people up. So, if MGTOW want a solution that is going to work in the long run, they cannot be suggesting these stupid ideas like government intervention. Undoubtedly, if you're a MGTOW, if you want to really go your own way, and if you want everybody to be able to go his own way, you cannot be suggesting anything other than less government intervention, or at least a freezing of intervention. No more, and I underline this, no more, whether it is for men, whether it is for equalizing the conditions for men or women or whatever. No more. Firstly, we freeze it, and then we start cutting it back and rolling it back, and we do this fiercely, where we try to go to zero. And I know that many people will say this is utopian. It's even more utopian to think that you're going just to solve a hangover by keeping on the intake of alcohol. It's not going to work. And if anybody, one of the things I've seen was people talking about libertarianism, a guy called C.S. McCow, and pointing at some chick, some Julia, I don't know, some chick that appears to be libertarian and all that. And my answer is, what has this chick offered? I mean, did she have any new ideas? Did she present anything new? Did she have any presentations about the Rothbardian ideas of the state? Did she present how the state was presented by Proudhon, for example? No. All she did was, the usual rabble about bullshit, everyday issues, pretty much the same thing Sandman does, publishing videos that are about small, minute details in the life, in history, things that will not be written even in one tiny word in the smallest footnote of history. I know it sounds grandiose, but you need to think about the bigger picture. You need to think about the historical responsibilities we have, and the historical responsibilities we have is to fight back the state. And believe me, MGTOW is simply a preference. It's simply saying, I won't be the bitch of everybody else. Okay, fine. I don't consider this to be a big deal. deal, saying I won't be the bitch of anybody else. But you can't say I won't be the bitch of anybody else, and then separated by a comma, say, but you know, I have no problem setting a precedent for people to fuck. It makes no sense. It's not a slippery slope fallacy. I have to repeat this. It's true. It's not merely a slippery slope fallacy, and it's not a false dichotomy when we say that it's either this way or we're heading back to where we were, which is shit. In history and in the world, there is the right and there is the wrong. Now, you can either be right or you can be wrong. If you're half right, I'm afraid you're wrong. And anybody who has studied anything that has to do with mathematics knows this. If you make a mistake in calculations, you might be right in the entire equation, in the entire function, but if you don't get the right result, I'm afraid, obviously you've made a mistake, and obviously it has to be discarded. And of course, the result is a result of wrong premises. And this is why I'm against the utilitarian ideas that, hey, we as MGTOW can be, pro-state. Okay, it sounds weird, if it helps us right now, but we can be anti-state if it doesn't. No, you have to be consistent, because if you're not consistent, you will just end up being, anybody's bitch. You want to be anybody's bitch? No, you don't. You want to be a man going his own way. You want to be independent. You want to be a person who respects himself. And you can't respect yourself if you know that you have won by being a thief. You will respect yourself by knowing that you have won fair and square, beating down your enemies according to the fucking natural rule. That's the thing. And I'm not the type of person that is going to say man up. I hate this word, this phrase man up. I'm not that type of guy. And I'm not the type of guy that pays attention to anybody saying man up. This is why I would not take seriously an average chick claiming to be libertarian and saying man up. I'm afraid this is her own personal preference. This is not something that I need to address as if she represents the entire libertarian movement. I'm afraid that if you want something more representative of what I believe in, you can try looking at Rothbard. Rothbard is basically it. Or you can go to Mises.org, which has a comprehensive list of the ideas that I agree with. And when it comes to political philosophy, when it comes to the deeper parts of political philosophy, I also like Stirner, Max Stirner, or Johann Gaspar Schmidt, as his right name is. And I like Nietzsche as well. Now, are these people evil? They might have had ideas according to their age, but I don't believe we would disagree much compared with many others if they were alive. Anyway, this has dragged on too long, and my basic point was, you want one thing, you have one thing in your mind. Ad hoc solutions will never help. You need to have a comprehensive worldview, a Weltanschauung that will help you and guide you in the process of liberation. If you can't do that, I'm afraid we are locked in an infinite loop of tragedy. And I don't know about the primary MGTOW producers. Me, as a libertarian, I don't want to follow that. I respect these people very much, and because I respect them, I would never want more state. They look like very decent people, and I would never want these very decent people to become victims of a greater state power. They can't understand what I'm saying. They can't understand my, let's call it paranoia about setting precedent and future dangers, but I know it. I know that it's going to happen, and I'm not going to take part of it in it. I'm not going to support it. I'm going to be against every step of the way, and I hope you will be too.